In my last video on the friendly fade of 25, Joey Badass versus the West, I made a couple of predictions, or I put forward a couple of thoughts. One was I thought that final song by Joey Badass, or the most recent one, was probably the end of the entire battle. That essentially ended it, that he was the person who started it, and he probably is the person who landed the final blow. That turned out to probably be correct. We'll have to see. The other thing was I had a prediction of a way that it could have some kind of conclusion that was satisfying and appropriate. That's what I called the friendship attack. So it's all tied into the video game series Mortal Kombat, and they introduced something with the second installment where, it always ends the same. Every Mortal Kombat game ends the same, where the guy says, "Finish him." And that's your chance. You have a couple seconds while your enemy is stunned to do something really spectacular. Now that's most famous for the Fatality, where you rip out their spine, or you split them in two, or you freeze them to death and blow them up, or you set them on fire. There's a whole bunch of things you can do with fatalities. And that's really cool and that's really badass. But then they introduced the friendship. And the friendship is where instead of doing something cruel, you do something kind of sweet and nice and funny. You might make them little paper cutouts. You might throw them a dance party. You might make them a snowman if you're Sub-Zero. That was the idea. And so I thought maybe this battle would end best as a friendly fade, ending with friendship, ending with kindness, with collaboration or mutual respect, which seemed to make sense. And I think that's what this new song, End Credits by Daylyt, is doing, and I'm all here for it. Some people aren't. I've seen some people say that this is just Daylyt just giving up when it's too early, throwing in the towel when the fight's not over. I can see that. I don't know if you ever watched John Lewis, Jawn Lewis. He just does some really great video essays, really impressive. He does a lot of stuff on sports, really good stuff on sports, stuff on music. His video on the Boondocks, might straight up ruin the Boondocks for you. So watch it at your own discretion. It's a great video. But I was seeing him talk about this, and he was saying he can't really get into it because it doesn't feel like a real battle. It feels like a spar. It feels like a friendly fade. And maybe the person who kind of inspired this whole thing, I think, the person who fighting for the spirit of hip-hop has succeeded, and that perhaps has led to the release of this kind of music, once said about Kanye and Drake, "When Kanye got back with Drake, I was slightly confused. Guess I'm not as mature as I think, got some healing to do." That's to say, Kendrick Lamar himself doesn't quite understand when rap beefs end in a friendly way, as they did for a small period of time between Kanye and Drake. But I don't think this is purely giving up. I don't think this is purely just throwing in the towel. Because the thing about this friendship attack from Daylyt is that it's still trying to win. It's still, in a way, trying to defeat Joey lyrically. He's still trying to be innovative and creative and show off his talent. It turns out in battle rap, which I will say one more time, I don't know much about, which is the main reason I haven't been talking about Daylyt, because I feel like I don't actually appreciate what he is best at, so I don't feel that comfortable talking about him, But there is a thing in some battle raps of doing compliment battles. According to something I saw online, which may not be true, please tell me in the comments if this is true. Or at least don't you dare repeat this fact as though it's a fact. It's what we call on the internet fact? Apparently this was born in Korean rap battles, where it would be traditional to end as a sign of respect by complimenting each other and trying to go as hard as you possibly can in complimenting the other person. Take all that creative energy, take all that wordplay, take all of that viciousness, but instead of saying, "You smell bad," it's, "You smell good." "You're a little teeny tiny dog. You're a great big boy dog." Okay? That's the idea. Is it any less authentic than the attack? I don't know. I guess it depends, but probably not. And he's sort of already started doing this with the song Word is Born, where he pays homage to Capital Steez, which was super important and super great. And as we get to this song, what is a beef about? A beef is about a lot of things, And what is a rap battle about? A rap battle is about a lot of things, but it really entails a lot of bragging and destroying others through exaggeration. Okay, and all beef, all these battle raps, they go down to the sense you have to have exaggeration. And what is exaggeration but a kind of lie, right? So what it's what you're signifying, you're talking about how great you are, you're boasting, and you're lying. With this song by Daylyt, he is exhibiting kindness and telling deep, uncomfortable truths. That's kind of cool. That's kind of cool because it's really making him look the best. I mean, how many songs has he released? And I haven't felt the urge to talk about any of them up until right now. This might actually be his way of trying to win. By saying, I'm not trying to win. And this is the alternate take. This is the other way of looking at this. This whole thing, this whole song is secretly a diss because he's choosing how it ends. Joey Badass started this. He ended the whole beef with that last song that was so strong. And now it's like, end credits. I'll tell you what, it's over. I'm going to show off how great I am. I'm going to show how creative I am. I'm going to show how magnanimous I am by doing this whole thing. Okay. All right, everyone. You know, it's like, it's Joey's party and Daylyt is showing everyone the door. Okay. Okay, everyone, party's over. Yeah, no, me and Joey, we're just gonna clean up. No, you put that down. You put that down. I'm gonna vacuum tomorrow, anyways. All right, you just you go. All right, booger. We'll see you tomorrow. I don't know why I imagine Daylyt and Joey Badass being friends with that weird guy from Revenge of the Nerds. So what is it? Let's talk about it. Let's go into the actual song itself. It starts off. I mean, as far as beats go, it starts off with the sound of New York State of Mind by Nas and Shook Ones Part 2 by Mobb Deep, kind of going right off the bat. And this is what's funny, because he's taking these New York samples, and throughout the beef, taking samples from the other coast has been a sign of disrespect. Like, that's how you say, like, oh yeah, watch me do this. But here he does, it's fascinating. He takes the songs from the East, but because the song itself is not an attack, it feels like an homage or an homage. Okay? That's like, do you see what he's doing? He's using the same tactics to opposite effect with the same end. So, using words to show that you're great by saying someone sucks. Using your words to show you're great to say someone is wonderful. Sorry, it appears to be trash day in my neighborhood. There's a lot of ambient sounds here. Got the rain, got the birds, got the garbage truck. And then here, by taking the beats, you can take the beats to insult, or you can take the beats to compliment. And he starts right off the bat by telling the truth about the West Coast. I've lived in the West Coast, okay? I spent about 10 years in California. I lived in Oakland, I lived in LA, and I got my doctorate in Santa Barbara. And I will tell you something. And I hate to tell this to y'all out there, but it's kind of a bandwagon state. when it comes to, especially when it comes to sports teams, you know, you don't have, at least in my experience, with the exception of like some Dodgers fans and some Lakers fans, for the most part, they just root for whoever's in the playoffs. They just root for whoever's big. And I was really disappointed. When I moved out there, I was like, wow, there's like no real sports culture. Nobody really cares. I am, as you may not know, as you probably do, a Boston sports fan. That's one of the reasons that I don't really like rep the Patriots, because like no one cared about them until they were good. I'm just going to say that. Like, I was deceived by my own bandwagony Boston spirit. But it is an idea. It is a thing where perhaps California is a little bit more support you while you're up as opposed to lift you up when you're down. That's a perception, at least that's what's communicated here. Me and Dot got something in common. We ain't pop in the West. We went east to feast for years before the city would back us. So how awesome is that? He's like telling the truth. This whole thing is like East Coast, West Coast, all that. But he's like, yeah, but like, man, do you know how hard it is? like if we're not talking about snatching chains, if we're conscious, they're not going to support us. The East Coast, for whatever reason, was more supportive to Daylyt and Kendrick Lamar when they were not already big. Do you see how fascinating that is as an approach? That's really saying, if you go back to the sports analogy, that's like, that's like a boxer, getting hyped up before the fight and saying like, my left hook isn't that good. I'm the best fighter in the world. But really, my footwork could use some improvement. I don't put enough effort into my footwork. So what are you going to do? And he goes on with this truth telling. And again, I think there's two ways of reading this truth telling. You can read this as being him being magnanimous and wonderful and kind, or you could see it as him trying to show off how great he is by telling the truth in a genre, in an arena where truth is less important. Actual truth is less important than exaggerating and showing off and trying to make huge hits on your opponent. I thank you, Joey. Grateful for the space you created. Friendship, right? That's what this is. Friendship. AZ, King Ray, Coyotes, Lit Poppy, K-Boy, Hitta, we did that. Jag, we did that. Like, cool, right? Like he's just saying right out front that this was a space, this was a thing that Joey created. Now, I would go one step further and say, actually, Kendrick created it with the beef. That's how I see. I see that there was space that Joey capitalized on one aspect of the party dying, one aspect of how hip-hop could have possibly changed in 2024, and how many of us were thinking this isn't going to actually change anything. We're going to be going right back to Nokia. It's just going to be all Nokia. There's going to be nothing but Nokia. And so there's been these little signs that hip-hop has been maybe not saved, but maybe returning to some form of artistic glory, some kind of spiritual strength. I would say the rise of Doechii shows that, and I would say this whole battle shows that. So Joey didn't create it, but he did make this battle. He did start this out of nothing. And then we get to the King of New York part. The ruler's back. Oh, you the man, Joey. Today I crown you the King of New York for taking that stand, Joey. You really took a fade with all of us, a brave man, New York made man. It's just immortal. It'll say immortal when your grave land. Okay. So there's a couple ways of reading this. One, and I'm literally reading this, okay? The ruler's back. Oh, you the man, Joey. Today I crown you the King of New York for taking that stand, Joey. Or this. The ruler's back. Oh, you're the man, Joey. Today I crown you the King of New York. It's fun. It's fun. I mean, I think he's being genuine. I think he's truly saying this. But in a way, it's insulting New York. In a way, it's a way of what I said in the last video. Joey was the MVP on a losing team. This is emphasizing the fact that, like, if Joey Badass really is the King of New York, like, if he really is the best out there, then New York is not quite what it was. It's interesting because I've been listening to some of the other songs I haven't covered just to see if there's anything in there I might want to talk about. And that Kai Cash song, which is quite good, he even ends the whole thing saying that there ain't no king in my city because Biggie's dead and Jay's gone. Right? Like, is there a king of Los Angeles? Yeah, of course there is. Big Stepper figured they needed this. So I think when he's saying that, he's giving Kendrick proper credit for perhaps, maybe Joey created this fight, created this actual space for this battle, but Kendrick made the arena where the ring is put. I don't know. I'm done with sports metaphors, everybody. If I make another sports metaphor in this whole video, I want you to put in the comments, you lied. I'm still whipping them without dissing. Kids, listen, this is just my real vision. Came to the game to show you the real vision. I'm still whipping them without dissing. Do you see? Do you see that line? I'm still whipping them without dissing. I'm still whipping. So he's still bragging, but he's bragging about how good he is at attacking people without attacking them. And then his whole verse about the beef economy, the beef industrial complex. It's just great. He's talking about, he's not talking about me specifically, but he's talking about people like me. I just did a video yesterday on Lucy Bedrock, very cool underground mixture between like like rage rap and like hyper pop. It's really cool. If you like Playboi Carti, if you like the insanity of Playboi Carti, check out Lucy Bedrock. Check out my video on that. That video has 400 views in 24 hours, which for 2019 Sky would be great. 2025 Sky, that's a catastrophe, because, you know, this beef really does raise the economy, does raise, for those of us who are trying to talk seriously about music and about rap, it really is helping us. The reactors replay, we drop so much shit, they're going to be weeks late. Infinity War, Take, the street play, had shit for rappers and the DJ, a new case, and then he shouts out Screwface Jean and Shaq. And it's great. It's awesome that he does that, because he is saying out loud the things that we are all feeling and thinking. That this whole thing was started, and it's helped to give shine to so many other people. It's helped to give shine. It has literally been putting money in the pockets of YouTubers and bloggers and people who talk about hip hop and lyricism for real. It's pretty awesome. All the bloggers bawling, calling each other, all the podcasters mobbing for supper off our hard work. Look at how God work. We fed the streets when they needed that the most, and we can boast about that shit for a lifetime. It's so wholesome. It's so wonderful. Just saying, like, look at what we did. Look at what we did. Something new in the book of hip hop. Set the stage. I promise a new day. Is this something new? Is this? Yeah, it is. This isn't Cannabis versus LL Cool J. This isn't Meek versus Drake. This isn't Kendrick versus Drake. This isn't, right? This actually is something new. This kind of technical display of rap ability on a bi-coastal friendly war has never happened before, and hopefully it happens again. And then the whole thing ends brilliantly. And there's been an aspect of this whole beef that's made me uncomfortable, because sometimes we'll properly point out I am in fact white. And me really appreciating this beef and talking about it a lot, like, I've been nervous. Because, like, if this actually does result in any kind of actual violence, like any violence at all. I mean, if someone kicks someone in the shin, then I will have regretted talking about this at all. Part of the reason I felt comfortable talking about it is because I have recognized, I hope correctly, that this is not a question of actual violence. This is not encouraging and placing bets on people fighting in the street. This is like legitimately about the art of hip hop and the thing that I like to study and teach when I can. So this ending really, really puts a bow on it. We did it all without them bleeding the streets. The streets are not blood. There's no blood anywhere. We did this all without feeding the beast. The beast. What is the beast? I don't know. You probably don't want me to be the guy to talk to you about it, because as I previously mentioned, I'm quite white. But the beast is a systemically racist machine, a systemically racist country and culture which thrives on and promotes Black Death and suffering, right? That's the beast. That's what ends up being fed very often in these situations, but that's not what happened here. We put our feet in the seats, so the plans they had to dumb us down, and some are now, right? So, like, the plan they had to dumb us down, like, literally building on, I was sitting right here on this porch on September 13th, my birthday, 2 days after Watch the Party Die ended. Like, the party died so that this party could recommence, so that the hip-hop party could recommence. That's what had to happen. It had to die. Drake had to be symbolically killed in order for us to have this glorious moment. So thank you, Daylyt. You finally get your moment. Ironically, in a day that is so gray, you're going to get your props from me finally. I'm thinking about doing another video, and I want you to tell me if I should, okay? I've been thinking about this, and I've been thinking about Sun Tzu, who wrote the Art of War, 5th century BC, Chinese philosopher and thinker. And I was thinking about, like, could we apply this quote to all the rap battles that we've been seeing? If you know the enemy and know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. If you know yourself, but not the enemy, for every victory gained, you will also suffer a defeat. If you know neither the enemy nor yourself, you will succumb in every battle. I like that. I like the way that that's written. I think that's a pretty interesting idea because I think that's what this Daylyt thing is. I think this is him showing he knows the enemy and he knows himself. And if you know your enemy and you know yourself, you need not fear the result of 100 battles. Now, Sun Tzu's also, he's not really talking spiritually. I think he's actually talked about like forces and like actually knowing how many people they have on the other side and what their tactics are. But I think we could apply that spiritually and psychologically here. And on all sides, it seems that for the most part, they have known the enemy and known themselves, which is why this battle has resulted with no fatalities. I didn't write that. That was all improvised. Thank you for auditing Always Positive Music Review Show, hosted by a French professor who's going to go off to the gym now. There's the camera. Oh, wait, what did you think of this video? There's the camera.